I don't know what the Caitlin Clark put in her Gatorade, but the WNBA needs to drug test it immediately. Her first game back from injury, 32 points on 50% shooting from three, and gave the New York Liberty their first loss of the season. She was so unstoppable, she was sticking out her tongue on some Michael Jordan shit. She was on her Steph Curry shit. She had 9 points in 40 seconds. Hit back-to-back-to-back threes from about 40 feet from beyond the arc. If you stuck her in a bucket of water, she would have melted like the Wicked Witch of the West. This is exactly why the WNBA gets so many views when she is playing.
Apparently, Caitlin Clark's recent comeback performance was just too good to be true. After she returned from injury to deliver a 32-point masterpiece that single-handedly snapped the New York Liberty's winning streak, someone in the WNBA office seemingly looked at the stat sheet and decided she must be on something. This is the only logical explanation for the firestorm that erupted immediately after the game. An explosive story began to circulate online, alleging that Clark was immediately hit with what was rumored to be her 11th drug test of the season. The internet's reaction was swift and merciless, but it all points to a central baffling idea that the league's brightest star is so talented, the only explanation some can come up with is that she must be cheating.
There's nobody else in this league. Yes, other players can go for 30. Yes, that's true. But can other players keep the audience glued to the television? I didn't even want to go to the bathroom during commercial because I was scared I was going to miss something. I didn't want to go to the bathroom because I was scared I was going to miss something. This is a legendary show. This is Michael Jordan walking into the NBA. This is LeBron James stepping in and reviving. Like, this is that. We've never, bro, I know y'all want to hype up Paige, and I see what's going on out there. I see what's going on. All you Angel Reese fans who have come to the realization that Angel Reese isn't half the player of Caitlin Clark, y'all have been trying to bet, y'all clinging on the straws and trying to find someone else, anyone else, to have a realistic comparison to Caitlin Clark.
This bizarre incident has left fans asking a hilarious yet serious question. Are they testing for performance enhancers or are they testing for basketball genius? But as unbelievable as this situation is, it's just the tip of the iceberg in a much darker and more complicated story. The perception of a targeted campaign began to build long before any alleged drug tests made headlines. From her very first games, many viewers felt that Caitlin Clark was being met with a level of on-court aggression that went beyond standard rookie treatment.
Caitlin Clark just went off in her game against the Liberty, hitting 3 straight logo threes back to back and set the place on fire in Indiana. Here's the first one. This is light work for Caitlin Clark. Boom. Standard operating procedure, but the crowd starts to buzz a little bit like, here we go. Here's number 2. We're talking damn near half court. From way downtown, bang. She's heating up. And then number 3 here is the quintessential definition of a heat check. 2 girls in her face just heaving it up there, splash, and the place goes wild. She's on fire! I mean, not since Steph basically going unconscious in that gold medal game in the Olympics with like 4 or 5 straight threes have we seen a performance quite like this. This one was absurd. I mean, I don't think there's anything the Liberty could have done on the planet Earth to stop that ball from going in. Now, at the time of posting this, we're halfway through the third quarter. She's got 25, 6, and 5. The billion-dollar woman. It is ridiculous that we ever mentioned Angel Reese or anybody else in the same breath as this woman.
There was a growing sentiment among fans that she was being relentlessly hip-checked, shouldered, and knocked to the floor in plays that often seemed to have little to do with basketball. While some commentators and league veterans insisted this was a necessary welcome to the league, a physical rite of passage, a significant portion of the audience saw it differently. To them, it looked less like competition and more like a deliberate effort to intimidate her. What's your take on this? Do you believe this was just tough professional basketball, or did it appear to cross the line? Let me know your honest opinion in the comments below.
So let's talk about Caitlin Clark. The thing that impresses me most about her is her ability to step up in big moments. When the bright lights are on, Caitlin Clark is also on. She went off last night for 32 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, and 7 3-pointers. Now, you guys, she had been out for over 2 weeks with a quad injury, and some were wondering if she was going to have minutes restrictions, how much she was going to be playing, if she was going to be up to full speed, and she clearly was. There was a point during the game where she had 3 3-pointers in 38 seconds, and these weren't just regular old 3-pointers, these were her signature logo threes from feet behind the 3-point line.
This relentless physicality is what many believe led to the inevitable. A nagging injury forced Clark to the sidelines for 5 games. And as she sat on the bench, the critics grew louder, questioning her durability. For Clark, it was a period of forced silence. But for those watching closely, it felt like the setup for a major comeback. Her return was a true trial by fire, scheduled against the undefeated defending champion New York Liberty in their own hostile arena. The stage was perfectly set for a cautious, tentative comeback. Instead, what transpired was a basketball masterpiece. From the opening seconds, Clark unleashed a volcanic performance that completely dismantled the best team in the league. She started with a barrage of 3-pointers from near the logo, shots so audacious and so perfect they seemed to defy the laws of physics. The Liberty's elite defenders were left helpless. If they gave her an inch of room, she drained a long-range shot with chilling accuracy. If they closed in, she would blow past them with a deceptive burst of speed, either finishing at the rim or delivering a dazzling no-look pass to a cutting teammate. It was a masterclass of offensive firepower. She didn't just score 32 points. She conducted the Indiana Fever's offense with the authority of a seasoned general, leading them to a franchise record 17 3-pointers and shattering the Liberty's perfect season. It was the ultimate revenge on the court, a deafening statement to everyone who had doubted her. A performance like that should have been the only headline. But it was the story that broke next that would expose the dark underbelly of the league's relationship with its brightest star. As the celebration of her stunning victory was still underway, the league was faced with a public relations nightmare. The story of the alleged 11th drug test felt to many fans like a slap in the face, a cynical attempt to question the legitimacy of her brilliant comeback. As reports of this rumored test went viral, the narrative was no longer about an incredible athletic achievement. It was about a league that appeared to be at war with itself. This explosive allegation poured fuel on a fire that had been smoldering for months, and it forced everyone to look closer at what many perceived as a pattern of bizarre behavior directed at Clark. The most glaring example was the highly controversial decision to leave her off the Team USA roster for the Paris Olympics. The official justification was her lack of experience in senior training camps, but to the public, it was an unforgivable snub. It was widely viewed as a move by the establishment to exclude the sport's most popular player from the world's biggest stage. Was this a justifiable decision based on experience or a colossal marketing blunder? I'm fascinated to know what you think. When you place the rumors of excessive drug testing alongside the on-court incidents and the Olympic controversy, you can see why the theory of a targeted campaign began to take hold. But here's where the story gets even more disturbing. Sources close to the league began revealing conversations that allegedly took place behind closed doors. Conversations that paint a picture of an organization in complete chaos. According to these unnamed sources, emergency meetings were held after Clark's draft night, not to celebrate landing a generational talent, but to discuss damage control. The alleged concern that Clark's popularity might overshadow veteran players who had paid their dues. One particularly damning rumor suggested that certain influential figures within the league were actively lobbying for Clark to be put in her place early in her career. Whether these conversations actually happened or not, the mere fact that they seem plausible to so many fans speaks volumes about the toxic atmosphere that has developed. This has led to 2 deeply unsettling theories, and it's hard to decide which is more troubling. The first is the theory of deliberate sabotage. This argument suggests that there may be an intentional effort to undermine Clark, born from a potent cocktail of jealousy and fear. It points to the possibility that some veteran players could resent a rookie arriving with more fame and fortune than they have accumulated in their entire careers. The hard fouls and public criticisms in this view could be interpreted as a calculated effort to humble her. This theory also extends to the league's administration, suggesting they might fear a star who has become bigger than the league itself. The second theory is one of catastrophic incompetence. This argument proposes that there is no conspiracy, just a series of major fumbles by a league leadership that was completely unprepared for a phenomenon of this magnitude. In this scenario, the WNBA isn't necessarily malicious, just inept. The drug testing controversy, if true, could be a flaw in their system, and the failure to properly promote their star could be due to a simple lack of vision. Whether it's a calculated plot or a series of amateurish blunders, the perception for many is the same. The league's single greatest asset is being mishandled. The ultimate proof of this perceived mismanagement lies in the very success Clark has generated. The Caitlin Clark effect is not a myth. It is a measurable economic miracle. League-wide attendance has skyrocketed to its highest levels in 26 years. The Indiana Fever's home games, once sparsely attended, are now sold-out spectacles. Road. Teams are moving their games against the Fever to massive NBA arenas just to meet the historic ticket demand. The television ratings are even more dramatic. Clark's games are setting all-time viewership records, bringing millions of new fans to a league that has long fought for mainstream attention. Her inaugural 22 jersey became the top-selling jersey in all of sports immediately after the draft. She is, by any metric, a one-woman economic engine. This is what makes the league's alleged behavior so completely illogical to so many. It raises the billion-dollar question. Why would any organization appear to be working against the very person who is single-handedly making them more relevant and more profitable than ever before? But Clark's impact extends far beyond just numbers. On a spreadsheet, she's fundamentally changing how people view women's basketball. Young girls are now asking for WNBA jerseys for Christmas instead of just NBA ones. Sports bars that never showed women's basketball are now packed during Fever games. Social media engagement for the league has exploded, with Clark's highlights routinely going viral and reaching audiences that the WNBA had never touched before. Yet instead of embracing this cultural shift, the league seems to be fighting it. At every turn, veterans have made passive-aggressive comments about rookies needing to earn respect. Officials have been accused of allowing more physical play against Clark than they would tolerate for other stars. Even the media coverage has been strangely hostile at times, with some analysts seemingly more interested in diminishing her achievements and celebrating them. The drug testing controversy may have been the final straw that broke the camel's back. If the rumors are true, it represents the ultimate insult, treating the league's savior like a suspected cheater simply for being too good. The optics are catastrophic. Here's a player who has already transformed the league's financial prospects, brought unprecedented attention to women's basketball, and consistently conducted herself with professionalism and grace, being subjected to what many view as harassment. The backlash was immediate and overwhelming. Fans flooded social media with support for Clark and criticism of the league. Sponsors began asking uncomfortable questions about their investments. Media personalities, who had previously stayed neutral, started openly questioning the WNBA's treatment of its biggest star. The league found itself in the impossible position of having to defend actions that seemed to contradict their own best interest. This ongoing controversy is costing the league more than just public relations points. It's potentially costing them their future. Clark's popularity has opened doors that the WNBA has been trying to break down for decades. Major networks are suddenly interested in broadcasting rights. Corporate sponsors are lining up with offers that dwarf previous deals. International markets are taking notice of American women's basketball for the first time. But all of this goodwill evaporates if the league is perceived as being at war with its own star. Fans who came to see Clark play aren't going to stick around if they believe she's being treated unfairly. Sponsors aren't going to invest in a league that can't manage its own success story. The window of opportunity that Clark has created won't stay open forever, and the league's apparent inability to capitalize on it is becoming a source of frustration for everyone involved. To be fair, not everyone in the league is opposed to Clark's rise. Several veteran players have publicly supported her and acknowledged the positive impact she's having on the sport. But the vocal minority that seems threatened by her success has created a toxic narrative that overshadows these voices of reason. The irony is that Clark's success benefits everyone in the league. Higher attendance, better TV deals, increased merchandise sales, and greater media coverage help all players, not just Clark. Yet some seem more focused on protecting their own status than embracing the rising tide that could lift all boats. Perhaps the most damaging aspect of this entire saga is how it's making American women's basketball look to the rest of the world. International observers are watching in bewilderment as the WNBA seemingly sabotages its own golden goose. Other leagues around the world are taking note, and some are already making overtures to Clark about potentially playing overseas. The thought of losing the league's biggest star to international competition should terrify WNBA leadership. Yet their actions suggest they're more concerned with internal politics than with global competitiveness. This short-sighted approach could have long-term consequences that extend far beyond Clark's individual career. The sports media has played a complicated role in this drama. While some outlets have been fair and balanced in their coverage, others have seemed to pick sides in ways that have only intensified the controversy. Social media has amplified every perceived slight, every controversial call, and every rumored behind-the-scenes conflict. This constant scrutiny has created an environment where every interaction involving Clark is analyzed for hidden meanings. A hard foul becomes evidence of a conspiracy. A referee's call becomes proof of bias. A drug test becomes a symbol of institutional harassment. While some of these interpretations may be overblown, the pattern is undeniable, and the damage to the league's reputation is real. What makes this entire situation so perplexing is Clark herself. She has handled every controversy with remarkable maturity and professionalism. She hasn't publicly complained about the treatment she's received. She hasn't demanded special treatment or threatened to leave the league. She's simply focused on playing basketball at the highest level possible. This grace under pressure has only made her more popular with fans and more sympathetic in the eyes of the public. Every perceived slight against her is seen as an attack on someone who has done nothing but elevate the sport she loves. The contrast between her dignified response and the league's chaotic handling of the situation couldn't be more stark. The WNBA stands at a crossroads. They can either embrace the revolutionary change that Clark represents and build a brighter future around her success, or they can continue down a path that many view as self-destructive. The choice seems obvious, but the league's track record suggests that obvious choices aren't always the ones they make. The international spotlight is on women's basketball like never before. The financial opportunities are unprecedented. The cultural impact is already being felt across the sports world. Clark has handed the WNBA a golden ticket to relevance and prosperity, but only if they're smart enough to use it. In the end, this saga is about more than just one player. It is the story of a league at a critical turning point, forced to confront its own identity in the face of a transcendent star. Caitlin Clark's talent and popularity have, in the eyes of many, exposed the fractures within the WNBA, from rumored player resentment to perceived administrative dysfunction. She has become the catalyst for a crisis that will define the future of women's professional basketball. Can the league embrace the revolutionary change she represents, or will it continue to struggle under the weight of these controversies? The league got the superstar they always dreamed of, but their response has been viewed by many as a public relations disaster, turning celebration into suspicion. The clock is ticking. The window of opportunity won't stay open forever. And the entire sports world is watching to see whether the WNBA will rise to meet this historic moment, or whether they'll be remembered as the league that couldn't handle its own success. The story is far from over, but it has left everyone asking one final crucial question. Is the WNBA building a brighter future around Caitlin Clark? Or are we simply watching the league struggle with the greatest gift it's ever received? What do you think will happen next? Drop your predictions in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more coverage of this unfolding drama.